And we're back with the 10th episode spectacular, Season 2, Episode 10 of the Digital Press Podcast. And we're kicking off with...
Some sad news.
Nintendo is pulling the plug on its online services for both the Wii and the original DS family of consoles. So what that basically means is that they're turning off Mario Kart Wii.
Damn it!
But there really is a lot of people that still play that regularly online. That's
It's the only game that I can think of that
There's
actually
probably
functioned properly online.
There's probably some Pokemon games too on the DS that people still actively use the online trading.
A lot of the net code for say like Smash Brothers was terrible. It was like unworkable. Tatsunoko versus Capcom, not really any good.
The delay on the netcode was really bad with all their fighting games. I found Smash Brothers to be tolerable to some degree because I'm not a good Smash Brothers player, so that always worked in my advantage. When the people who were really good at it would you could tell they obviously had lag, and I would get in a move or something, and I'd win, and I'd be excited, and then I'd get my coins or whatever.
I don't know if anyone still plays like you said, Mortal Kombat. Ultimate Mortal Kombat.
I know
it's a good version of the game, but I don't know if people still play that.
Whenever I would log into Tetris DS on the original DS, if I could find a wireless access point that didn't have modern encryption, because the original DS used only the earliest forms of web security on routers. It would only let you access your home router if you used
nothing or
WEP, which most people would opt for a higher encryption, 16 or 32-bit encryption on their home network, but the DS wouldn't be able to connect through that. So you would either have to turn off your encryption, or some people could make a guest network on your home. Some home routers that didn't. Some home routers would require a password to get even into the guest network, and some didn't. I guess you could do that. But Tetris DS always had crazy talented Japanese people playing it. It would always... The username would always be in kanji text or Japanese writing, and they would beat you immediately. You'd get one line, and they'd totally destroy you. I don't know,
Well, you were telling me that when I expressed myself that I was annoyed with this, that about the only thing I ever play on the Wii whenever I do is Mario Kart Wii, and you said that because the Wii has been so modded that everyone cheats. Apparently, except me.
Well, it may have gone past a point of interest for the hackers, but I recall I was an avid Mario Kart Wii player. In fact, I'm still the Digital Press House Champion.
Wow.
I guess you didn't play me that day. You weren't at that Nava. But when I was playing Mario Kart Wii, there was a point that it was immediately apparent that as soon as soft modding started to happen on the Wii, and people could take the game ISOs and modify the hex code so you could have unlimited, you'd start and you'd always have a star going, the entire time you were racing. So right out of the gate, you could tell the hackers, you'd be playing online, and then all of a sudden, someone would shoot off of the starting line with star power, and you could see them lapping everyone 4 times. That kind of stuff happened to me so often. Now, it may have, like I said, gone past the point of hackers being even interested in doing that, and now it's kind of boiled back down to just normal
Once
users.
The griefers lose interest.
I stopped playing. I was really good online. I had the gold Wii avatar with the crown and everything. I had all the points, but I just stopped because it was getting hit with a blue shell every 2 seconds, or watching a guy lap you 20 times. And it was on the DS too, with the DS version of Mario Kart. The hackers would, mod their game files, and that's a really common thing. As soon as a system
beating all the 5 and 6-year-olds,
as soon as a system is broken open, like that,
jerks.
It happened on PlayStation 2 with their online stuff, the original Xbox. Anytime the modification starts happening.
Well, that goes all the way back to... I remember on the PC, when they first started to really get multiplayer games working to where there was actual collision detection.
Yeah.
I remember playing Need for Speed 2 on the PC online, and there was no collision detection.
They just turned it off?
Yes.
So it was flying through things.
Through you?
I think even Need for Speed 3 was the same thing. Basically, yeah, you're playing and you're playing, and I mean, you were playing other people, but all you were playing was basically to see who got to the end first.
Right.
Like you could drive right through the guy like he wasn't even there because they just couldn't do the collision detection. But from that point, I mean, you could tell, cars would go super fast, or if you played like I used to play Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight on a PC and LucasArts online thing, and you could tell. I mean, guys would they'd be they'd be Darth Vader, but they'd be flying back and forth on the screen like I'm like, I can't even see these guys. How is this possible? And it wasn't, but they cheated.
I've never understood what kind of mentality of person gets joy from knowing that they're invincible in a situation like that. It's
the joy of just fucking with people, griefing.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there.
Yeah, but I mean,
there's nothing creative about that.
Yeah, aren't you bored? Oh, look at me! I did this, and after an hour, you're like, all right, well. What's the point of me playing a game that I'm cheating to win?
Yeah, or there's no way I can lose. It doesn't make any sense. There's no bragging rights. Now, I could understand if the hack was something creative, like if you replaced Mario with a penis or something, or Sonic the Hedgehog, if he's not in the game, something funny where everyone online would go what is this? And it's it doesn't detract from the competition, but it's funny. That kind of stuff I could see as being incredibly entertaining. And that for me anyway, I would love to do something like that. But
you would love to turn Mario into a penis.
Well, it's a good point you bring that up, because when I got to Need for Speed 4 on the PC, there was a couple of things. There was a big modding community for Need for Speed 3. And then when 4, I forget what that was called, Knockout or something. And then 4 was High Stakes. And when they got to 4, there was even more modding in terms of you could replace cars and get new cars, and but they worked online. I'm pretty sure they worked online, because I remember playing, and I'm driving along in my Lamborghini or something, and all of a sudden here comes a gigantic Mario Kart guy flying by, or the General Lee.
General Lee.
See that's
funny. That's funny.
That's the kind of thing where hacking is really that appeals to me. Of course, I don't really game on PC, so I don't really have access to that kind of stuff. And that's why that game, Mod Nation Racers on PS3, was so much fun to me, because they gave you such incredibly robust creation tools. The avatars were kind of just like Mii's, but they were really detailed, and you could modify so much about their geometry and stuff. So week 1 of Mod Nation Racers, you had every Mario Kart character, you had every Marvel Comics character, and they looked amazing.
Penises?
Penis head characters, yeah, I'm sure. Cars with penises sticking out of them.
Well, that's the first thing that happens.
Right.
That happened with Spore. Within the first few days, everyone was making these pornographic. Because that's what people do.
It's their first rule. Is that the first thing, if you're given creative freedom, is that you make a penis, whatever it is. But Nintendo's shutting it down. Some people, I don't want to say they have a sense of entitlement, but they're disappointed to a degree that's unrealistic. I think if you look at it from Nintendo's perspective, they're essentially maintaining servers for hundreds of games that are empty on a daily basis. I mean, if you go online with any kind of Wii online competitive game that isn't one of their top tier AAA games like Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, you're going to be sitting in an empty lobby for forever, because no one's really playing, and there has to be some cost involved with Nintendo maintaining that, and also it's a business move. Mario Kart 8 for Wii U is being released soon, and it's obvious that Nintendo wants to cut the cord on the people who are dependent to some degree on getting online with Mario Kart's Wii or whatever and getting their fix. They want to say, okay, we have to take this huge crowd of people that's been doing this for years and years and years and forcefully move them into our new generation of consoles and games. And we want them to keep playing online, but we want them to buy the new hardware.
I guess it comes down to people just sort of it's starting to hit them, because we've seen the only other big massive shutdown was probably the original Xbox,
the Halo 2 day.
The Halo 2 day.
People
they left their consoles on
for months to keep it going, keep the matches going.
Yeah. But it's before this, it was usually like one-off kind of thing. Like this game would shut down, and this game would shut down.
Especially in the case of PlayStation 2, which never had a dedicated infrastructure. It was like companies running their own servers, so games would shut off.
I guess now it's starting to realize that.
Well, I mean, people they've experienced it. I mean, EA does this. They leave a server up for a year.
Yeah.
A year? Come on. And not just like on sports titles. I mean, on other titles, it's like, oh, it's up for a year, 2 years, and it's gone, and it's like.
I guess this just sort of like hits home because people are now realizing that the minute that the console officially dies, the servers are sort of on the chopping block. So I mean, because it hasn't been that long since the Wii and DS have been retired.
Well, is the Wii retired officially?
I think it might be.
They're still selling the Wii Mini at Targets and Toys R Us units. The red one that has no online connectivity whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they are essentially, Nintendo is doing everything they can to phase it out. The Wii U has Wii compatibility with like almost 90%, I'd say, of the stuff. Anything that doesn't require the GameCube ports still pretty much works on the Wii U functionality. But beyond that, it's,
people are realizing that their games have a shelf life now.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
To an extent. I think it's...
Yeah, we're closed.
We're closed. I think so. It's just that it's weird because this is probably the weirdest instance like this because it's like as we're saying, the only game that anyone is playing is Mario Kart Wii. It's
like the Xbox else. With Halo 2. That was the same way. At the end of the life of the Xbox, there was practically nothing but Halo 2 players, I think, online that were getting the most out of the service. So it's similar. It's definitely it's funny.
Now it's in like the user's hands. So they come up with like tunneling software and things like that. I think the Dreamcast still has an active Phantasy Star Online community.
Sure.
But those are a little bit easier to replicate. I mean, in the case of Mario Kart Wii, all you really have to do is essentially start a matching server.
Yeah.
Because in that case, it's good because it's like in the old days, back in the 90s and all, with PC games, early 2000s. The servers didn't do anything. They were just matching servers.
Yeah, just like type in somebody's phone number and it would connect you to them, right? That's how it used to be.
Yes, originally, but no. Once it went to just IP, it was still just matching in the sense that you would get onto a lobby with everybody else. I mean, anybody can write that software, and then you would just get into the room or the track or whatever you were doing. But in other words, the server wasn't doing anything other than keeping track of whose car is where, type thing. It's not playing the game or anything like that. So
I think even the Phantasy Star Online with the Dreamcast was peer to peer. Like I think you basically you're connecting two systems and just making a little environment, or up to four systems, however many players could play online at that. So it's
that was more
really rudimentary. Direct. Really rudimentary. You can still do Saturn dial up to dial up with Duke Nukem or Virtual On, whatever those games are. If you know somebody who has a landline, you can still
look. I'm not kidding you now. There are people who are actually trying to devise modems. I guess they're like IP modems. I don't know, for Super Nintendo and the Genesis.
X-Band kind of
stuff? Well, the X-Band those were the same things.
Not X-Bands, though. This is something totally different that they're trying to do, which I'm like...
through like...
what are you doing here?
So basically like a broadband X-Band kind of thing?
It would still be a telephony, or would it be Ethernet?
No, it would be Ethernet.
Wow, that's crazy.
I don't know who they expect to use... How many people are going to use this stupid thing, but...
You know what I've been meaning to get in touch with you about... this is semi-related to our topic. Have you tried on the Ouya the peer-to-peer on MAME? We can connect. We can actually do multiplayer games.
Who would
Me?
Who would I try? Other than you?
Me, Stephanie, Leon, all of our Ouya, our small, tightly knit Ouya community here. You can on the MAME. It actually has matchmaking. So if you have a two-player like Simpsons Arcade or something, or Double Dragon, you want to play two players. You just put in it generates like an IP, like a little mini IP, and you plug in whatever your partner's is, and they connect. The only thing I assume is that you have to have your controller set up to player 2 or player 1. If you're both running on player 1 on MAME, it probably will cause some problems. But it's cool that that's included with that. I noticed it as I was going through the options, and I was like, "Hey, wow!"
Well, I think that's just part of MAME.
Probably part of
it's
MAME,
always
yeah.
part of it, so they just
They
automatically you automatically use that. Oh, by the way, I don't know if how many viewers we actually get on this that use the Ouya, but we made a boo boo. We made a mistake.
What did we do?
Frankie and I thought that we could get the iCade, the Ion iCade core,
Yeah, this is
which
good information.
We don't have it here, but it's basically, if you've ever seen the iCade, which most people assume, the iCade is that mini cabinet that you put the iPad into. There was another version which was just the plastic base joystick and the 8 buttons.
Looked like an arcade joystick that you could put an iPad directly into.
Yeah, and it had just a little thing there.
Bluetooth controller.
So it runs on 2 AA batteries. So they're only like $20, so we're like, oh yeah,
we could use it for MAME on Ouya.
Yeah, some people are like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, it works. And the problem is, I got mine through the mail.
Me too.
And I open it up, and I'm trying to set it up, and anytime you set anything up with Bluetooth, it has to be found by your device, and then the device sends a code that you have to type into that
the 4 number.
Yeah, your peripheral. So in the case of this iCade core, the Ouya was sending a 6-digit code, and apparently these buffoons at Ion changed something in the hardware or something or other where it just does not work.
There's a version 2, which is the ones that you will find for $20 now online. If you're seeing bargain priced iCade core, buy it with the expectation that it will only work with your iOS, your iPads, your iPhones. Any other device like an Ouya or an Android tablet that may be compatible with Bluetooth controllers, if by some twist of fate you wind up with version 1 of that controller, which our friend Stephanie has, it will work perfectly and you can use it like a joystick. But the version 2 has extra functionality in it that they've locked everything out except for the iOS device.
I also tried. I have a USB dongle for the PC. You just stick it in the jack, and it's a Bluetooth receiver. And I tried it on there, and it was the same thing. It just wouldn't work on the code. Are you sure that hers was the core that she was referring to, and not the i?
No. She was the early adopter of the core because she uses it for. She made that custom Vectrex shell, and she uses it on that.
Oh, that's right.
She bought it. It was. And I think there's some information online that supports the theory that they did a revision
they did something
where they just didn't want it working with anything other than the iPad because, and to their credit, they're a company that only technically supports their stuff for the iPads and iPhones and whatnot. If people were using them on Android, they really wouldn't have a support system in place to troubleshoot or help with stuff like that, so they locked everything out. So if you're lucky, you might have an Ion iCade core that works with your Android devices like the Ouya, and then you have a nice laptop joystick that you can use for your things like your arcade emulators. I have to try my actual full-size iCade thing, because I bought that when it first came out, so that's probably a version 1 that only uses a 4-digit code. I should try connecting that to my Ouya as well, but that's another story for another time.
But anyway, so I was, if anyone out there in the ethos out there,
all 3 of our listeners,
if somebody finds some alternative, Bluetooth wireless controller that can be used on the Ouya, so on an arcade stick, let me know. Let us know, because I would like to do it.
Yeah, I've looked online, and Bluetooth and arcade sticks are not 2 things that go together because the fighting game community, they don't like their lag. They almost exclusively use wired controllers altogether. I do have a couple PlayStation 3 wireless arcade sticks made by Namco that have a wireless dongle. I should test those. They probably will work with the Ouya.
Oh, the other thing we kind of tested, I think you did, was that you had thought that there was actually was it a Street Fighter arcade stick for the Wii that you plug it into the Wii mode?
Oh, Stephanie tested that.
Yeah, but that doesn't work.
No, you can get a Bluetooth. You can get the Wiimote with an app to talk to the Ouya, but once you plug in any of the dongle type devices like the Classic Controller Pro, so Ouya is a mixed bag of like great stuff, but then there's because it's such an open platform and people can make whatever they want work with it and whatever they not want. If there's not drivers or software supporting these different things, it gets complicated and you wind up in a situation like Greg and I where we rushed out and we were like, yeah, $20, great, we'll have these joysticks that work with our MAME on Ouya, and then nope, doesn't work. So I think you could probably rip apart a PlayStation 3 controller and build like a custom arcade stick with that, but I'm not one of those people. I can't do soldering. Like me and a soldering iron and like arcade buttons and wiring and stuff, that doesn't mix. I'd burn all my fingers off and then I wouldn't be able to play anything. So, yep, that's it for Nintendo. Goodbye to Nintendo's online services. Goodbye to Mario Kart. Maybe I'll log in on like the last day. I think
leave your system on
coming
for
up soon.
Maybe by then you'll figure out how to mod your game so that you can cheat.
I would never do that. That goes against my core of non-cheatingness. All right. And we're back for segment 2. And I wanted to talk about a classic game that was kickstarted last year and has just been released on Ouya in beta mode. It's Jumpman Forever, which is an update to the classic from the era of Commodore 64 and 8-bit Atari computers, Jumpman and Jumpman Jr. It's a game that, I think it's really one of the first non-arcade port platformers from that era that incorporated puzzle mechanics on each level. It's in the same era as games like Miner 2049er, which I know is a favorite of yours. And it's aggressively difficult, but it's really fun to play. And the new game has a lot of the same feel as the old game. It's still in beta, and I got to admit right now, if you download it on your Ouya, it's a little buggy, and you can see you can kind of see the seams where it's not coming together quite properly, but the spirit is definitely there. It's definitely done in the style of the original. And did you play the original on your old stuff?
Not back then. I have it for ColecoVision. I got it several years ago, and I've played it on there. So Jumpman Jr.
Yeah, I've never played the ColecoVision version. I was actually shocked. I had a Coleco growing up, but we used it primarily as an Atari 2600 with the adapter. At the time, we had a 2600, and then my parents were like, "Oh, it's Coleco. This is the next big thing. Better graphics and whatnot." And I think I had only maybe a handful of Coleco proprietary games through the life of that system. And I found I saw a Jumpman Jr. card here years later, and I was like, I didn't even know this game was out on ColecoVision. I believe it came with my Commodore 64 disk drive with a package of other Epix games, Super Cycle, Winter Games, and a couple others. It came free as a bonus. But my parents and I would play Jumpman Jr. endlessly, and I don't think I ever finished all 18 or 15 or however many levels the original game had.
Who was the original designer?
The original designer of Jumpman was Randy Glover, was the programmer of the 8-bit version for Commodore and 8-bit computers. I'm not sure if he worked on the ColecoVision version as well. The new version is by a programmer named Davis Ray Sickman, and his studio is Midnight Rider Technologies. You can find him on Facebook if you want to send him a message. I've already sent him a few bug reports directly through Facebook messaging. Davis Ray, Sickmon Jr. And he's a nice guy. He actually responds back, and he's continuing work on it, and hopefully they'll get it into a full release sometime this year. But if you want to play it now, it's on Ouya. And you can play as both Jumpman or a Jump Woman in this version named Red. It's cool little female avatar, and the levels have some of them are updated versions of the classics, like Take It Easy and bombs, whatever the original ones were for the computer. And then there's a whole second set that's made totally brand new for the new system. So, yeah, if you're a big fan of Jumpman as I know a lot of classic gamers, it holds a special place in their heart. Check that one out. It's also going to be coming to PC, Mac, and other platforms once he gets it into full release. But Ouya is first. Go Ouya. Right, so that's it on that.
So should we discuss this movie that is being proposed? The Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg movie? What is this?
The Nintendo versus Sega Wars?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what they said, but
does it sound like is it a movie or is it a documentary kind of thing?
I don't know. Nobody really knows. I know that it's weird because I was. This was several months ago. I was on Amazon, and I was looking for somebody gave me a gift card, and I was like, all right, what do I get on Amazon? So I was looking at different video game books, and I brought some of them here, in fact. But one of them wasn't out yet. It was coming out like May of 2014, and I'm like, what is this? And the title was, it was like Rise and Fall of something or other, Sega, I forget the actual name. But it was not by those guys. It was by somebody else. And so I just... And underneath it said forward by Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen. So I'm like, what are those guys? These are comedy writers. What do they care about video games? What's the deal here? And so I didn't think anything of it. And then several months later, I hear all these reports like from out of Hollywood that they're making this movie.
Well, I mean, it was certainly
they're of that generation.
Yeah, so. And it was a real.
They're not that much older than I am. I don't know about.
It's a topic that's ripe for a movie, I guess. I mean, just the amount of time that's passed, it's probably become more like storied legend, like almost a fantasy of like what actually happened. There were console wars then, but it was I don't think it was.
I think that was the title.
Yeah, I don't think there were any shots directly fired that were super aggressive. I'm sure they're going to turn it into something more entertaining. They're probably going to make it.
Well, I hope it's like Pirates of Silicon Valley, which was not really all that authentic, but
I haven't seen that one.
That was the television movie with Noah Wiley as Steve Jobs and Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, I missed
Bill
that
Gates. But yeah, this one, it sounds like it's more going to focus on Sega, because Sega was the one that kind of came from nowhere, became the big number one for a very short while, and then fell apart.
Yeah.
Versus Nintendo, which is kind of just like, they're very very even keel.
Yeah, Nintendo did practically nothing like in their defense, like throughout the whole course of that. They just kind of moved at the same speed and pace and progression of technology that they always have, and Sega was the one throwing all these new ideas out there, like CD-ROM technology, 32X extra memory add-ons, and
well plus you have the dynamic of Sega of America versus Sega of Japan, and then
they did not
fighting
work well
each
together.
other, and
or
they could go a different route and make it more like what was the one with Matt Damon? Was it The Informer?
The Informant?
The Informant.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like this thing where it's kind of like tongue-in-cheek, where the executives are kind of bumbling, and this guy's trying to do his thing. And
yeah, I mean, I would expect from Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg that it's going to have tons of cameos from people like Paul Rudd and all their regular,
it'll be... Here's the title.
Danny McBride.
The title should be...
Danny McBride needs to play like Reggie or something. And come in and be like, yeah, motherfuckers. Hey. All right. We're gonna kick some Sega ass today. And just smoke a huge joint.
Yes.
Danny McBride will be the one that he'll be the guy that came up with the idea for the 32X.
Yeah.
No, we're making the Saturn. What? No. I'll make the 32X. So they could title it like "This is the end of Sega."
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be entertaining,
and there will be pot smoking at some point. They're gonna have executives all getting.
Oh wait a minute! This is not an Atari mockumentary.
No, there'd be people doing coke all the time. Yeah, I mean, I'm. Hey, why not? Why not? They're fun guys. I like most of their work, and I'd be happy to see their take on it. And no one else is doing it, so we'll see what happens.
Hello. So we're back. This is our usual show and tell I've got some stuff here, some books that I alluded to earlier. This came from Amazon. This is pretty new. It's called Sega Arcade Classics Volume 1. Hardcore Gaming. I think they're a website. Yeah, they review a lot of stuff. So they came out with this. This is, I mean, it's really cheap, and it's, let me move this other one first. It's really colorful, and basically it covers just about every Sega-made arcade game from the mid-'80s, from around 85, 86 through like 91, 2. And it also has all of the ports. So, like here, it'll say for Space Harrier, it'll tell you like the background of it, give a review, pretty good description, a lot of the color pictures, and then it'll start looking at the ports. It'll explain the ports, and then it'll show like a good comparison of what they all look like, and they don't pull any punches. They'll tell you it's amazing that they find like all the little intricate issues with some of the ports, and here's Space Harrier 2, and
Harriers. I love that one.
Yeah, and they also they cover a lot of the newer stuff. There was a lot of the Sega Ages releases on the PS2. It was only Japan, but they cover a lot of those, and they also cover some of the Dreamcast. The emulated, ones that they put out.
I love the ZX Spectrum Outrun with like 3 colors. The Spectrum had like such a low color palette.
It's awful.
But tons of software because it was so popular in Europe.
Yeah, and then it's got all the different versions of Outrun. A lot of the Master System versions, which always seemed like they had extra versions, and Outrunners, Outrun Coast to Coast. I believe it's that has all the Afterburner versions. It also has pictures of the deluxe cabinets that Sega was famous for. Although those seem like they were mostly overseas. We didn't get a lot of them here. What do we got here? We got Afterburner. Then it'll go into... It even gets into like some of the Afterburner quote-unquote sequels that really aren't. Like G-Lock and... what the heck is that? Sky Target? I guess that was on the Saturn. And then some of the newer ones, even some of the mobile games and re-releases, many of which stink. I think it also goes into... Then it gets into Shinobi. And I think we pretty much get the gist of this. But, I mean, it's amazing. It literally covers everything. It's got, Altered Beast and Golden Axe and... then at the end, it goes into like Fantasy Zone and Alex Kidd. Then all of the Wonder Boy games. It somehow explains how there's 85 different Wonder Boy 3s or something like that, and Quartet even. And then it has some, like at the end, it'll get into ones that only have like one game, Thunderblade or Galaxy Force, etc. Galaxy Force was noted. That was the cabinet that did like a 360 spin with you in it.
Oh, I love that one. They had to put like ropes and cordon poles around it so people wouldn't get smashed with that cabinet.
Yeah. So this is I don't even doesn't even have
Amazon?
Yes, I got it on Amazon. I think it cost $15 or something like that.
That's great because usually those types of books, those retrospective game history books, because of the amount of work that's put in on them, they usually charge so much. But
or they're basically like they're all the same. It's like every year there's somebody comes up with a new one where it's like, oh, all right, here's all the old consoles. All right, well I've read this 50 times over. This was something I found at a local something called the Geek Flea. That Frankie is aware of.
Yep.
And there's a guy just selling some stuff, and I got some old, what else I got? Maybe some DVDs or something like that. But I'd never seen this before. This was common back in the 90s. PC games would have strategy guides. In some cases, in the case of Star Wars Rebel Assault, this is not a strategy guide. This is like a behind-the-scenes guide. And the reason I got it was it's not all in color, but I read the whole thing, and it literally gives you the soup to nuts of how that at the time they designed this full motion video game, and how that the full motion games were so terrible then. And it tells you like that there was a guy that he basically came up with the code himself for the audio, for the video. It's amazing how that they were, even for such a simplistic game as this, but in 1993, very difficult to get it to run with good animation and good gameplay and audio and everything. But somehow they did it, and it literally gives like the whole background, goes through all of LucasArts. So if you wanted to know how LucasArts operated back then, they go through like customer service and what this person did and that person.
Those high-tech computers.
Oh yeah, I think they're all like Gateway 2000, 286 or something now. Yeah, it has like artwork and the 3D models that they do, and I think the middle of it is in fact color. As I flip through here, this was noted as the first. This was like the first instance of a Star Wars production allowing somebody to use like live action, more or less, Star Wars characters outside of the original trilogy. It was the first time it happened, and maybe they should stop with that. But yeah, this is all color in the middle of it, and just like game shots and things like that, and
it's cool because I recall the game being so simple that there'd be no reason for a strategy guide for that game. It's basically point and shoot. You just flew around and you shot everything that was coming at you.
Yeah, this was
really interesting.
A couple of bucks. All right, now here's something that I got. This was a royal pain in the ass for me to finally obtain, as I've complained on this podcast many times about my RGB gaming. Finally!
Oh, you got it.
I got this stupid Mad Catz. Now, somebody in Europe is probably saying, wait a minute, I paid £5 or some minuscule amount for that stupid thing. But basically, this is an RGB SCART switch box. And it's honestly, if you're an RGB SCART gamer, and
not many United States
no.
NTSC televisions have SCART inputs by design.
No, well, none of them do. I have an upscaler. That's what I go into. But so rather than I have a special RGB SCART cable that goes into RCA connections, and I figure it's buried in the back of the my game center. So rather than fiddle with that, I said I got to get a switch box. And I kept trying eBay, and it was like every single one that I ordered from the United Kingdom, I would get it, and it, believe it or not, even though it was SCART, it was only S-video or composite.
So it wouldn't do the RGB.
It was not RGB, and they would tell me, "Oh yes, this is RGB. Don't worry." And I'm like, "No, it's not.
It's
not.
Have a scone.
Damn you!
And a figgy pudding."
Now there were other options, but they were all like powered units, massive. I didn't want any of that. So this is the small. This is like the smallest. There's like very little loss at all in the quality. Mad Catz, unfortunately they don't sell it anymore. It was very, very difficult to find. I had a friend in the UK get it for me off of eBay because the seller refused to ship to the United States.
Wow.
How much did it run?
I think it was new in the package. I think it was about probably cost him like with the shipping, I don't know, $35 or something.
That's not bad.
You could get them cheaper, but you really have to search very, very, very well because they're not labeled that well.
What systems do you use that for primarily?
Super Nintendo, N64. Sega Genesis, Master System, 32X.
And you find that the SCART input is more vibrant colors, sharper, crisper pixels,
everything. I mean, some of the older systems are not getting. You have to mod them. Most of those you don't have to. The N64 had to get modded, but Super Nintendo and the Genesis Master System you don't have to. And it definitely improves.
Now, do you buy SCART cables for those systems specifically, or?
Yeah, I mean, you basically, the trick is you have to get them from Europe, or not from Europe. You have to get the European version. They look like this is the Nintendo one, the common Nintendo multi-out.
Nintendo multi-out that you'd find in a GameCube or a Super Nintendo or a N64.
Yeah, so you don't want the Japanese one because even though Japanese SCART is 21 pins like this one, like Europe, they're not exactly in the same arrangement.
Oh, so they're not compatible.
Yeah, so it won't work. So that's why you want to get like the European ones.
That must create like a whole separate set of headaches.
Yeah.
You have to know about it.
It looks the same, but it's not the same.
No, you have to know about it. And in fact, actually, in the Nintendo one, not N64 doesn't care, but for Super Nintendo, you have to specifically get the NTSC, not Japanese, but there's an NTSC version of this, which is this is, and not PAL, because for whatever the reason, the PAL SCART cable for Super Nintendo is different than NTSC.
So you have to get an NTSC, but it's European, but you have to get an NTSC version. Oh boy.
I just emulate all of my 8 and 16-bit stuff on a new, looks beautiful.
Yes. All right, so here is the crazy thing here. That's why we have the Vectrex here, is this monstrosity.
The hell is that?
Jesus. That's like... like shock treatment.
Yes.
Shock therapy.
This is a third-party, brand new 3D imager for the Vectrex. The Vectrex original 3D imager, which about this size, is very expensive. It's $400, $500 easily, $600. So I wanted to try it out, so I went with this thing. The website that makes it is Madtronics, MADTRONIX.com. It's a guy, Johan is his name. I think he's in Sweden. He actually made something that was kind of like this, where it was the DB9 port, and at the end was a mini jack, and if you had like Sega Master System 3D glasses or something like that, with shutter glasses, you could plug that in and it would work. He stopped making that. I don't think it worked very well or something like that. But anyway, I got this, and it actually he reproduced the 2 different Vectrex 3D discs. There's 2 of them basically.
Oh, so you put it in? I see. So you put it in that thing.
Yeah, this is the Crazy Coaster, Narrow Escape. This one's 3D Mindstorms. There's a couple of homebrew 3D games. Off the top of my head, I may be able to remember them when I try this. So we're gonna attempt this thing. This piece here was a like cheap welder's mask. Yeah. That's why he used this. It was very cheap, and this is essentially a CD drive mounted backwards.
That's amazing. That's fucking amazing.
So, all right.
We need to unplug the.
No, it goes in the second. Yeah, it goes in the second player. So now the other. Here's the other disclaimer with this thing. On the actual Vectrex 3D imager, it's all encapsulated in this big piece, and there's like essentially like goggles in between. This thing, as you can tell, there's nothing there. Yeah. So this CD, this plastic
like spinning right in front of your face,
like this, right in front of your eyeball. So Mike will be demonstrating.
Let
me get the washer. Otherwise, Mike will lose a nose. This is what holds it in place. So
Jesus!
We're going to try 3D Mindstorm now.
Fancy piece of technology here.
Now, here's the thing. This may not work immediately because it has to go in a certain direction, and I can't remember which way this goes. I don't know if it goes this way or if I have to flip the disc around. So we'll see after we turn it on. Let's. There we go. I'm also using the Vec Multi Micro SD flash cart that I have.
Okay. Some of us would opt for the Sean Kelly multi-cart.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the earlier one. So let's see here. Richard Hutchison is the guy who made. He's out of the UK. I want Mindstorm 3D, so that's 2. Now, if this works, we'll get a game. If it doesn't, it'll just go black. And you'll start seeing this thing spin. Oh, there it goes. Hold on. It's not working? All right, I have it backwards. Let's wait for this to stop. How much time do we have on there?
So you know that because it...
I've done this before.
Okay. It's based on the way you have the plastic thing in as to whether or not the game will show up?
Yeah, well, basically, in the Vectrex, if you don't have a 3D imager plugged in, and you go and you run a 3D game, you just get a black screen. That's just what it does. So I think
For
this
future reference, the label goes forward.
Label out.
All right, try it again.
Put that on his head while I turn this on.
Ladies and gentlemen, if Mike does not make it through this, we send condolences to his friends and family.
I feel like pen. Pendulette. All right. And we're going to go with 2. Let's see if this works. Hold the controller.
Crap. Holy crap.
Now, well. Is it doing anything?
It is. But it is. Wow. Yeah.
I don't know how you play the game, but
there is an effective 3D effect. Yeah, it's doing something.
It's basically adding colors, and the colors in the disc somehow works.
I mean, it's fanning my face off, so it keeps me cool.
Just don't trip, or you'll lose some eyeballs or some eyelashes at least. Can we somehow get the camera behind it? I don't know.
I mean,
I don't think that will work, but
well, at least it'll show you like what it looks like in there.
Yeah, look at that. Let's see if we can maneuver.
Try to angle it to where.
Well, the problem is you got to have both eyes looking out.
This is brilliant. Well, you can at least see the device spinning with that, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and again, the other one, I think Narrow Escape is more of a. It's like a 3D, almost like Star Wars arcade type of game. Anyway, so this cost about, I think it cost about $150 in total. The shipping was not that much. But, if you want to attempt 3D games on a Vectrex, there's really no alternative right now. I mean...
Well, it's interesting. I similarly purchased a third-party Vectrex light pen that was made using an LED and one of those dry erase board markers from a company that was selling them at Classic Gaming Expo. I believe it was about five years ago, and that works just as well, if not better, than the original Vectrex light pen, which I did own at one point, but I sold based on its incredibly high resale value.
Medtronics also makes the light pens. I got one of them also from him. It was pretty cheap. That was like $30-something bucks, I think. I actually got this is not my Vectrex, but I got mine in a lot, and the guy had one of those like third party. It was a Super Nintendo controller that was
modded.
Yeah, it was modded for and I sold that and the pen that they had for so much money. I got this for nothing, basically.
Right.
I mean,
I did similar things with the rare Vectrex items that I had. I wound up selling them and getting the other items. Now, I've seen both Genesis controllers and Super Nintendo controllers and arcade sticks modded for Vectrex. Apparently, the DB9 is great because it allows for...
It definitely works.
Yeah.
It definitely
Very
works.
Cool. I'll have to try that.
There's depth.
Yeah, so we'll off the air, we'll try the rest of them.
Cool. Well, thanks for...
That's
it for show and tell today.
That's it for show and tell.
All right, kids.
And we're back from the future! And we wanted to make everybody aware that after a several-year hiatus, that Classic Gaming Expo will be happening again this year, 2014, at what's the location? It's going to be in Las Vegas, yes. But the specific hotel, sorry I didn't have this up and running. But it will be at the Riviera Hotel in Las Vegas, and
they have a great buffet.
It's also going to be helmed by by a new team of people are going to be in charge of the event proper. They're regulars at CGE. You may know them from the Retro Gaming Roundup. show.
And Game Gavel.
And Game Gavel auctions, yes. They're big. They've always been huge supporters of CGE and big participants. And they'll be handling the events proper, all of the setup and the tables and the whole executive end of things. And Joe Santulli, John Hardy, and Sean Kelly will be there in a museum capacity because that's really takes up their full time now with the Video Game History Museum. So you're going to get the best of both worlds. If you've been a participant in the past, or if you've just been someone who's gone, or if you've never gone, you should go. It's a great convention, and it's a lot of fun. And the Video Game History Museum will be there, so you'll get to see all the great collections up close and in person.
And they always have, whoever's still alive, but they always seem to have the old school programmers and I guess you call them celebrities, if you want to call them that.
Guys like
David Crane.
David Crane, yeah. I'm sure there's a litany of celebrities from the gaming world. Last year, or the last Classic Gaming Expo, they inducted the CGE into what's his name's Hall of Fame. The guy from
Walter
Days,
Day,
Walter Days, Legends. He's got his trading card set essentially.
Cards, yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. We recommend you check it out. They're on Facebook right now. If you wanted to contact any of them directly about any information, it's facebook.com/groups/CGE Expo. Or you can just look up Classic Gaming Expo on Facebook, and it'll take you to that page.
And what day is that happening? What weekend? I think it's September 12th.
I had it, and I closed it again. So let me get back to here.
I think it's the 12th through the 14th, but...
Yep. Let's see if it's on the official... September 12th through the 14th, yes. 179 days... 5 hours and 24 minutes away is the countdown.
Yeah, they always have that countdown on there.
And they also have a website, cgeexpo.com, which has updated information about the current setup. And I believe there are hotel discounts available if you wanted to register the special codes. So check out all the information on both the site and the Facebook page for CGE. What are you guys playing?
Oh.
Well... Recently, I've been playing South Park: Stick of Truth, and
looking at me,
a game that's been long development cycle.
But I got to tell you,
worth it.
I mean, you want to talk about playing the TV show? I mean, there have been a lot of games that have looked like a cartoon, or sort of, kind of done it,
like all of the other South Park games ever that came before it.
This one has. I mean, look, South Park has a certain look to it that's not exactly super complex. But in terms of how this game looks and moves and feels, you're playing an episode of the show.
From my understanding, and I haven't watched the show in many years, but I believe in modern times, I'm not sure if it was always produced in this format, but the show is done in a 3D program called Maya,
yes,
and I believe the game was developed with the exact same tools, so it's seamless. Like it looks exactly like the TV show.
It's definitely also, I mean, it's one of the most entertaining, just in terms of funny, just the constant jokes over and over, to the point where sometimes I'm laughing so hard I can't play. like my hands don't work. It's not a long game. It's maybe 12, 15 hours at most.
Which is probably acceptable.
You don't
want to do 60 hours of a South Park game.
It's just enough. It's just enough. It feels like one of those multi-part episodes that make one of those sort of pseudo movies that they do. They do Imagination Land kind of thing. Yeah. It's like that, where it's it's a bunch of episodes that are sort of interconnected, and it's very dirty, very very. It's
a lot of anal probing.
Yes, there's plenty of anal probing.
A lot of pooping.
Yes, plenty
testicles.
Of that. It's just the way you learn magic spells. For instance, Cartman teaches you a fart spell called Dragon Shout, and he demonstrates Dragon Shout. Dragon Shout. The game will constantly make fun of a lot of role playing tropes, a lot of things that you would do in a normal RPG that the game will poke fun at. So, for instance, you beat a boss fight. You're in a room. You're trying to save Princess Kenny from elves, and you just win this fight. And now what do you do in an RPG? Like, you explore. You find treasures, things like that. Meanwhile, your Butters is behind you saying, it's like, make sure you check every nook and cranny right now. Make sure you check every nook and cranny right now. No rush. Our friend's just being raped. It's like, things like that. It's like, so they're constantly making fun of you. They're constantly like just always, just nonstop.
Are they in like a video game, or are they doing?
No, they're doing like, yeah, they're kind of LARPing. They're effective. They're LARPing, and Cartman is like this mage, and like Kyle and Stan are doing their thing, and you run into pretty much everybody in South Park. They all give you little missions, kind of like a Mass Effect kind of thing, where like you have to do all these like little optional missions. And what's funny about it too is when playing this game, the one older game that kept sticking in my mind. And I'm not even a big fan of this other game, but it's a lot like Earthbound, in the sense that just the way it feels, like you're in a little
good
town.
Good timing, considering Nintendo just released Earthbound on home consoles. For the
you're in a little
time.
town. It's got a sense of humor. I mean, I'm one of the few people. I'm not really a big fan of Earthbound. I think it's okay. But this game is actually like really good, and I think that if anybody does like Earthbound, this will be right up their alley.
So Earthbound and South Park fans.
Yeah.
Is there anything in there for people who aren't big South Park fans and just like a good?
It's not a bad game. I mean, in terms of,
is it a competent RPG on its own?
Oh yeah, no, it's like mechanically, it's fun. It's got you have out of your party members, you're always like this. You create your character from scratch. You're the new kid, and they ask you your name. You write your name in, and they just call you douchebag. They just ignore whatever you call yourself. They call you douchebag. And your party member is made up. You get Butters as a party member. Kenny is a party member, and you have one party member with you at all times. So, and you can switch them in and out freely during battle. They will have their own special attacks. Like Butters can turn into Professor Chaos, and Kenny can summon a unicorn.
Does Kenny die like a bunch of times?
Kenny's effectively immortal. What happens is Kenny will die very easily in battle, but will always resurrect after a couple turns.
It's good. Well, they're keeping their tropes in line.
Yeah.
So, I have... Oh, God. What have I been playing? I've been in my house for the past, 4 months. I haven't moved based on my treatment for cancer. So I've been, not able to go outside, but yet I have, no strong drive to play video games. I did put a reasonable amount of time recently into the new Strider game that was released on almost every platform: PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360. I'm not sure if it's on Xbox One or not, but I have the PlayStation 4 version. It's an excellent update of all of the Strider games that have come before, both the arcade games, which were very straightforward action games, and the NES game, which was a complete reimagining of the Strider arcade game and made it more of like a Metroid style game. But the NES game has not aged well at all. It's in fact one of the worst Capcom games from that era. And that's coming from someone who's a fan of the Strider series. But the modern game takes all of the great aspects of the arcade games, and then it brings that Metroidvania kind of backtracking, going into old, earlier areas of the game. Once you've upgraded certain items, or you get certain things, different attacks you can do that will open up different doors and whatnot. And it's really great. Like if you're a fan of any of the Strider games, this one hits all the right beats. It's definitely worth it. I think it was only $15, downloadable game only, but totally worth it. So I've been playing that, and gosh, I feel like I've been playing something else. Lots of stuff on Ouya. I really toy around with that the most. It's so great to just be able to download anything off the market and try it. Like almost everything either is free or has such a robust portion of the games that are free before you have to you hit a paywall or something. So that's really fun.
Well, I was playing. I guess this has been out for a while, but I don't always look at what's new on the Wii. But Donkey Me.
Oh right, somebody changed all the Donkey Kong sprites and.
I love it. I mean, it's you get you play an Indiana Jones Donkey Kong, an Aliens Donkey Kong. It's like a Goonies Donkey Kong.
It's all reskinned Donkey Kongs. It does look very cool. I haven't downloaded that one. Playing anything else other than that?
What was the Capcom? I can't remember the name of the game. But what was the Capcom game for Super Nintendo? I think it was Capcom. Where was it Knights of the Round?
There was a Knights of the Round game where it was the arcade. I think was a 4-player, but the home version was a 2-player walking beat 'em up where it's like Lancelot, Galahad, Percival.
Yeah, so I played that on my either the SD to SNES flash card or Super Everdrive. I don't know which one, but I was playing that several weeks ago, and I tried to finish the entire game, and I had it on easy, and I was close to the end, and there was some ridiculous boss at the end, and I just couldn't get past. I was like, this is ridiculous, and I just went on YouTube and watched the end.
Yeah, because that's one of those games where you get 5 game overs, and it kicks you back to the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
you run out of quote unquote credits, or you should play it in MAME with you just unlimited coin in.
I guess I could have done that.
It is a MAME game, and the arcade version is a little bit better.
If only I had a Bluetooth arcade stick.
Suck it up and use the Wii controller. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching again, and we'll be back next time on Season 3 of the Digital Press Podcast.
Says who?
There's 10 episodes in every season.
That's it? Just 10?
It's like an AMC original series. We only do 10, and then, but we don't go on hiatus for that long.
Do we fire the showrunner every year?
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah. So, we'll see you next time, kids.
Yes, goodbye.
Thanks for watching.